right.
Okay. Okay, Bismillah. Hello, my name is Mariam Matawi, and I am the local officer of human rights and peace of FEMSA from IFMSA Morocco. Today, as part of Gaza Through Her Eyes, we are honored to speak with a Palestinian medical student about the challenges of studying and providing healthcare in Palestine. Access to healthcare is a fundamental human right, yet so many barriers can make it difficult for Palestinians, especially those in Gaza. Through this conversation, we hope to shed light on these challenges and the resilience of Palestinian medical students. Dear Mayar, thank you for accepting our invitation and for being here with us today. We truly appreciate your time and perspective. And to start, can you introduce yourself and share what inspired you to study medicine? And given your experiences, how do you see its connection to human rights and the right to healthcare?
Okay, thank you for having me first. I'm Mayar Thabit, a Palestinian medical student and also a member of PEMSA Palestine. I'm currently the LORB assistant at my local LC. My journey into medicine was driven by the passion of treating patients and the amazing aspect of bringing hope, dignity, and reassurance, comfort to patients who are totally in need of that. I think it's an amazing job, to be honest, and it's much needed in our lives. Um, Access to healthcare is known to be a human right, universal human right. Every person is entitled to healthcare. Every person deserves to get the healthcare that they need whenever they need it. So medicine is totally connected to the SCORP, let's say, perspective of things, the human rights, the peace. Every person is entitled to be able to get whatever they need health wise at any time they need it. And it's also our job to be able to advocate for that perspective.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Building on
Thank you.
that, what are the biggest barriers Palestinians face in accessing healthcare, and how does the situation in Gaza impact medical services across Palestine?
Okay, so to start with the first part of your question about the barriers, we have a lot of problems that are definitely a problem, and they definitely make it difficult for the everyday life to go on. We can start with restricted movement, which is a problem that every single person faces right here. It's actually like such a huge problem because um, you like movement is such a basic thing in life. You need it. Patients require permits sometimes to be able to travel, for example, outside Gaza or even sometimes outside Palestine itself, to get the healthcare that they need if it's not available here, which could often be delayed or even denied. Okay, ambulances face long delays. Sometimes the ambulances themselves get attacked. Patients inside ambulances get attacked, which is so tragic, actually. Like, we're talking about an ambulance, we're talking about a case that needs immediate health care. So, this case getting attacked is such a problem. It's so huge. Yeah. There's also shortages of medicine and medical equipment. Not We don't have access to every medical equipment out there, especially the advanced ones that are needed for, let's say, treatment of severe problems and hard medical conditions. And we also lack some basic supplies. We saw in Gaza how there was a point where surgeries and amputations had to be made without anesthesia, and that's such a tragic thing. It gives so much trauma to the patients and also to the medical practitioners performing these surgeries, these amputations. Like, the person is already in pain and they have to do that without like the thing that's gonna make it a bit easy for them. Traumatizing, to be honest. It's so bad, and hopefully it all gets better as soon as possible. There's also the infrastructure damage. Hospitals were destroyed. Power supplies are inconsistent. They were cut off multiple times. We saw how there were 37 premature babies that were in their incubators the power was cut off. The health workers had to move them with like outside of their incubators to other rooms, trying to heat the rooms as much as possible to help maintain a good environment for these babies. But we unfortunately lost three of the six of them, sorry, and that was at Al Shifa Hospital in Gaza. Um, and the last one would be that the medical staff, are overburdened right now with so much cases. The places are understaffed. Mental health is destroyed, literally. Like when you see all what they saw, it's gonna be totally tragic. You're not gonna be in a good mental place to be able to perform your job as much as possible. And that just actually it's fascinating how these doctors, these medical practitioners in Gaza, were able to maintain their strength and their ability to work through it all. I would never, to be honest, which is just amazing. Again, um, the last point I'm going to share is water and sanitization crisis that's going on. There were outbreaks of diseases that we haven't seen in a really long time. There was a polio outbreak in Gaza. There's scabies outbreaks in prisons all over. And that point just shows how there's maltreatment, how there is not enough medical treatment, healthcare to people in prisons. Yeah, now the Gaza crisis definitely impacts the Palestinian healthcare system overall, with increased patient outloads that we're trying to take here to the West Bank, East Jerusalem hospitals. There are limited resources, problems with patient transfers, and the conditions, sorry, are getting worse sometimes. There's again increased need for medical practitioners, which I've already talked about them already. We are understaffed. There's severe shortage for essential medicines, as I've also mentioned before. There's limited access to training programs, and that affects the medical healthcare system overall. And again, this point is really important to me. The high psychological burnout that everyone is facing, especially the medical staff, that affects the care, the quality of the care that they can give to the patients. Again, there were outbreaks of preventable diseases, and there's malnutrition, severe malnutrition, because there's no access to food, water, and the basic things that a person needs to survive. Um, Again, there's also violation of fundamental life needs, like the need to health and life-saving treatments. Thank you.
That's really tragic, but again, it's incredibly important to highlight. And hearing about these challenges really underscores the role of healthcare professionals beyond just medical treatment. And as a medical student, do you believe doctors have a responsibility to defend human rights? And if so, in what ways do you think they can actively contribute to addressing these issues?
Of course, as a medical practitioner, you always have a responsibility of defending human rights. I think every person is responsible to defend others when they're in need. But to look at it from like the medical perspective, the doctors have a great role actually in advocating for equitable healthcare. They can, and because they're doctors, they can identify that there are gaps, there are problems, so they can advocate for a better healthcare system. They can ask for things and try to reach all over the world with their points, with what they're seeing, what they're going through. Uh, Never backing away, and that would we would get inspired by the doctors that were in Al Shifa Hospital in Gaza, who never walked away, who never backed away from their patients, even when they were in so much danger. It's amazing, to be honest. Upholding ethical standards and making sure that they do not harm patients, that they protect every individual's right, try to give as much as they can and as much as in their power to save that person, to help them in their medical journey as much as possible. Trying to engage and educate the community around them about basic things that could help them in their everyday life, especially here, like attacks happen daily. So if everyone knows medical aid, um, first aid, um, if everyone knows how to behave in such when such problems happen, it could definitely make it better, like the healthcare system overall, and how we try to save more lives, hopefully. Evidence, they can do researches and use evidence-based practices that would totally help. And evidence is always like a strong key, so that would be amazing. They can support vulnerable groups, help them, maybe give them free treatments, free medications. That would be totally great. That's all for this point.
That's such an important point about the role of doctors in defending human rights. But even before they become doctors, medical students just like you are already facing significant challenges. And based on your own experience and what you've seen, what are the biggest obstacles Palestinian medical students encounter in their education and training, and especially given the current situation?
Um, Again, one of the most important points that I've mentioned already is movement and travel restrictions. It takes time, long time, to reach to the distant place of your university, your place of, for example, clinical practice. Students get stopped at checkpoints for long hours that could reach up to 6 hours only on the checkpoint, never mind the whole way, like to their home. That's such a problem, and it makes the daily life of going to university, having to study and going back home to study some more, totally hard on them. There's limited educational resources. Some things are outdated. Not every instrument that might be needed is accessible to us. There's disruption to clinical training, often due to hospitals being attacked, forcing the medical students to have to hide, have to go home, not finishing the clinical practice that they had to do today. Um, and that's really bad. Again, infrastructure damage, power problems, damaged facilities are all a problem. Overcrowded hospitals. Um, Again, psychological and emotional stress that makes it harder for people to study, harder for them to achieve their goals. It causes trauma, and there's a high patient mortality rate, which definitely gives a bad energy, a bad feeling to the people that are there studying and learning, the clinical students. Especially financial constraints are such a problem right now. Tuitions, living expenses, educational materials that the people need. There's a financial problem currently. So yeah, that's all.
So, if you could envision a fair and just healthcare system for Palestinians, what would it be? Sorry, what would it look like, and what do you think needs to change to make that vision a reality?
First of all, we need safe hospitals, hospitals that are not in danger of being attacked at any second of the day. We need advanced medical equipment that we currently do not have access to. We need enough medical staff that can be able to perform better jobs, um, access and non-restricted movement for both patients, doctors, and also ambulances going to the hospitals carrying patients. Buildings that are safe, large enough to hold the number of patients that can come in, and consistent power supply and basic equipment are totally needed. But mainly safe hospitals, an environment that is safe for the practitioners and the patients to be in all the time.
That vision is so important, and it brings me to my last question. As a future doctor, how do you hope to contribute to improving healthcare for Palestinians, including those in Gaza?
Advocating for equitable healthcare would be the first point, always. Using evidence, especially working on training the people everywhere on what they should do and how to help others, enhancing the clinical excellence and the clinical trainings that people get, research, and again, evidence based. Sorry, lost the word. Okay. Yes. Okay. So evidence-based research and helping to share the perspective of Palestinians and medical practitioners here is really important. Addressing the challenges and trying to work and promote healthier lifestyles to everyone here is a must. Oh,
Thank
sorry.
you for sharing your story, your struggle, and your hopes. It's truly eye-opening and inspiring. But before we end, if you could leave the world with one message, what would it be?
First of all, thank you for having me. This was an amazing opportunity to share my perspective and talk about it more. And I hope that soon we get to see a safe world with good, fair healthcare systems in Palestine and all over the world. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, Maya, for sharing your powerful testimony with us today. And on behalf of FEMSA and IFMC Morocco, we deeply appreciate you accepting our invitation and taking the time to speak about the challenges Palestinian medical students and healthcare workers face, especially in Gaza. And
Thank
your words are really a reminder that healthcare is not just a profession, it is a fundamental human right that should never be compromised. And as future doctors, we have like a responsibility not only to heal, but also to stand against injustice and advocate, as you said, advocate for equitable access to healthcare for all. And once again, thank you for your courage, insight, and resilience. We hope that through this conversation, we can continue raising awareness and working towards meaningful change. And to everyone listening, let us stand in solidarity and ensure that the right to health is protected for all. Thank you.
thank you very much.
Okay, that was it.
How was it?
It was really good. I love